allora.
Tutto bene? Sì, dai.
Sì. Ma parliamo in inglese, vero?
I try to do it.
No,
I
you
try to do
will.
it, but yeah, I speak English very badly, so.
You speak English very well. Also, your brother speak English very well, so it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Giuseppe, he is at home?
Giuseppe is bottling still now, yeah.
Ah.
We are a little bit in delay today, and so, yeah. We are bottling important wines, so yeah, it's necessary that one of us stay with the workers.
Which wine are you bottling?
As the new release of Bricobostis 2017.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
Very exciting.
It's a good, warm. It's a warm vintage, but I think that the quantity is very small quantity, but
Small
good
quantity in
quality.
2017. But so it looks like everyone's here. And so you have not done this with me before, but I like to start my events or my conversations with you telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
In this, I don't listen. Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't.
Yes. So why don't you tell everyone what you do and who you are? Tell us a little bit about Cavallotto.
Oh yeah. Yes, in this last month. Oh, it's okay. Yes, unluckily we had some problem in family. Heavy problem because my father gone, luckily.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
He's very old. He's 90, more than 90 years old. But yes, it's a little bit sad. It's a situation. Yeah.
Yes, but so now it's you and your brother and your sister who run the Cavallotto winery.
Yes, yes. But both my father and years ago my uncle, they decided to leave us very free in the winery to do what we want. So. My father was a little bit outside the winery. Yeah, of course he likes he like it to check everything and control everything, but just to say something. Yeah.
I think it's the same for everyone. I think for Silvia too, Elio, he also help and make decision and give opinion. So I think it's very normal for the kids of winemakers that the parents, they stay involved.
Yeah. It's not so normal. Often the old owner they want to stay much more in a winery, taking the decision, and the sons and daughters stay a little bit. They stay a little bit much more as a worker than the owner. In my case, luckily for me, it's a very different. My father decided that me together with my brother decide what to do in the winery very soon. So I think that in the last 20 years, my father just checked something and they consiglio, they conseil, that advise. He advised us to do something, but every decision was taken by me and my brother and my sister.
So Cavallotto is in Castiglione.
Castiglione Falletto, right.
And I have here the map.
Yeah.
So we have Castiglione.
So it's possible to see very well Castiglione Falletto with the tower in the left.
The castle.
Yeah, is there, yes.
But you have a fun story because it's your castle, right?
Yeah, we decide to buy the more historical place of the castle. It's a military castle, so inside it's very poor, but outside is magnifico. It's the oldest castle in the area. One of the oldest castles in the world. The castle so made was founded in 900, so in the 10th century.
It's very old.
Yeah,
but so now it will be your new place to have a party.
No, yeah. It requires. So it's time to restyle a little bit because it needs a lot. Yeah.
But so this is Castiglione. Up here you have the view of La Mora.
The winery, yeah.
Here
just
is your
in
winery.
front. Yeah, just in front of you. There is that side is the side southeast or east side. The most part of the Bricoboschi is in the other side. Yes, there with the southwest in particular. Yeah.
And you have most of your vineyards are here.
Yes, exactly. Bricoboschi is the MGA Mega. Is cru and is formed by several singular vineyards. In the past, we identified for Barolo 3 vineyards. Actually, just one singular vineyard is made by the Bricoboschi, is Vigna San Giuseppe. In the past, there was also the highest part of the Bricoboschi, called Vigna Punta Marcello. And the lowest part, but also beautiful part in south exposure, was Vigna Colle Sudovero. It's a strange name, Vigna Colle Sudovero. We don't know exactly why this place is so called. But anyway, very recently, just in 2010, Bricoboschi increased a little bit increase a little bit in dimension, and there is also a lower part much more in west called Melera. In the past, in Melera, we produced the Dolcetto, but it's a good place to produce a very good and pure Nebbiolo. Probably not the best Barolo absolutely, but a lighter and it can be very, very good vineyard for. We use Melera for our Langa Nebbiolo. Is of course Nebbiolo to Barolo, but yeah, is a new part. Is a new part of Bricoboschi, and we don't know exactly if Barolo produced in much more in west than in the south could be so important.
Because I have also here, you have a very nice map on your website,
Yeah.
because these are all your plots. So these are
Yes.
all
Yeah.
of your vineyards.
And exactly, and we can see very well the historical part of Bricoboscis, that is in light red, with the three vineyards.
Mhm.
Lower part Colles d'Ovest, in the middle in the middle Vigna San Giuseppe, and on the top Vigna Punta Marcello.
Yeah.
Actually, Southwest and Punta Marcello are together, um, and we produce our regular cru Bricoboscis. The name of the singular vineyard of the singular vineyard disappear on the label, because
Yeah.
putting together two vineyards, of course. And there is the name just of the mega of the MGIA Bricoboscis. Vigna San Giuseppe is different. We continue like in the past to produce this particular singular vineyard from Bricoboscis. Is the Riserva of Bricoboscis.
So you make red wines, but you also have two white wines that you make. You
Yeah.
make a Pinot and a Lange Chardonnay.
Yes.
And did you always make white wine, or when did you start to make white wine?
So we decided to produce white wine when we bought from an old farmer of Castiglionfalletto the vineyards in 1989. And we bought in particular a Vignolo. That is our second cru. Mm, for us is a second cru, but in effect it could be very, very good and very interesting. It's a fantastic southwest side, exactly in front of the Bricoboscis hill. Vignolo is a southwest. In front of Bricoboscis is exactly in really just a few meters of distance. There is the northeast of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. We have a couple of hectares of this kind of new cepage, new kind of vines from France. And the old farmer that grown this vineyard planted Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in 1972. So actually, our Pinot Noir is the oldest Pinot Noir in the region.
But so you decide then to make, instead of to make a red Pinot Noir, you make a white.
Yeah, it's yeah. So the farmer that grown Pinot Noir and Chardonnay sold the grapes to commercial wineries.
Yeah.
To produce for producing spumante, of course. The cepage, the clones and the typology of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay come from Champagne, not
Yeah.
from Burgundy. So we decided to vinify, to continue about the same vinification like a champagne, but without a second fermentation to produce bubbles, but to leave the wine like a base champagne.
I think so. It's one of my absolute favorite white wines from Lange. But one thing that strikes me when I drink it from year to year is the color change. Sometimes is more pink, more yellow. Why does this happen?
Yeah. We are not so. Uh, so industrial. So our work is very, very artisanal. And so we prefer produce wines, every wines, without any clarification. What's the problem? The problem is that it's impossible to know exactly how much color pressing the grapes can go in the juice.
Yes.
So it's necessary to press very, very softly, but using the same press, the same pressure, exactly the same things in different year, in different vintage, the color can change a lot. And it's quite impossible to know exactly which tonality and sometimes how much intensity there is, in particular in the color, because it's just juice, isn't a wine already made, but it's just a juice that must ferment, etc., etc., etc. There is a little oxidation, or there is a little reduction, and many factors. Of course, the big industries don't do that. They are much more. They have some standard, and they can clarify the wines and arrange the color perfectly. It's also possible, if you want to be sure to do exactly every year the same color, clarified a lot, so the wine is practically white, and after that add some color, some other wines, much more red, and so you can color the wine. So the big industry do that, but we don't. And so.
But so you make the Pinot and the Lange Chardonnay, but have you ever thought about making a Metodo Classico, or you prefer your wine to be not sparkling?
We prefer no sparkling because right now also the grapes sold by this old farmer of Cavallotto, they were grapes fantastic, really fantastic, with a very high quality, but was necessary blend. It is so high quality grapes to other grapes with much more acidity, very low quantity in sugar, and without structure, to produce a sparkling wine, to produce a spumante. So it's a exceptional quality that give some Langa style, Langa taste, but pure, it's impossible because there is too much structure and too much aromas, too much sugar. The acidity is not low, but not enough to produce like a champagne, spumante. So it's a shame to cut the grapes. It's a shame have an harvest very anticipated, because you must cut the green grapes.
It's a very good answer. I think you make very good wine, so you make good decisions. But you have the Pinot and the Lange Chardonnay, which are more Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are more grape variety found in Burgundy. In Piemonte, the white variety is Arnese. Is there a reason why you don't do Arnés, or it has to do with the vineyards that you have and the plants that already grow?
Yeah, no, so it's a little bit complicated because Arnés is a really new story. Arnés is grown, very well grown, but from 80s, not before, or just a little bit before, but and never vine growers grown Arnés in this part of Langhe, so in neighbor. In Piemonte, the true historical white kind of grape is Gavi. Gavi was grown in quantity and is the true historical kind of grape in Piemonte. After that, in Langa, we grow just a little bit of Favorita. And also Cavallotto produced a little bit of Favorita in the 60s, but just a few, because the Favorita require also good exposure. So the south, we grow a little bit of Favorito in Punta Marcello, but it's a shame to use that part of the hill for Favorita. And so we decided to change it completely with very strong kind of vine like Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Even if this kind of cepage are present now in all the world, and but in Langa we have so particular soil that also Chardonnay, that is a very strong kind of vine that is stronger than the soil, and is stronger than the climate. But in Langa is different. Yeah.
So I learned something new. I did not know all of this. So thank you. We have here with us the Barbera and the Nebbiolo.
Right.
In which order do you prefer we taste and discuss?
But well, normally during the tasting we organize here in wineries. Normally we prefer start with the Barbera, just because Barbera is rich of acidity, but without tannins, or the tannicity is so low that is disappear completely. Nebbiolo is a tannic wine, of course, and so is a little bit more complicated. This is the taste. For the bouquet, it should be different, because for the bouquet, in the nose should be better to taste before Nebbiolo, that is much more fine, elegant, and very complex, without any taste, so without some flower with high intensity. But there are many different. Barbera is much more fruity, intense, and strong. So it's a little bit complicated. We can taste now Barbera and after Nebbiolo, but for the tasters, if you have 2 glasses, it's possible to have 2 glasses and drink a little bit one and do a little bit another. And maybe is the best things to know and understand very well the wines.
Perfect. I think that's a very good idea. But so why don't you start to tell us a little bit about your Barbera?
Barbera, right. Barbera is a very rare Barbera, because Barbera is the most popular wine in Piemonte. Is the most important wine in Piemonte, because Nebbiolo actually is grown just in very particular place in Langhe, in Roero, and people know Barolo, Barbaresco. In the future, in the next future, maybe Roero. can be much more popular, but the quantity of vineyards are not so big. Barbera is all over Piemonte, so there is Barbera d'Alba, but now just a few, because in particular in Barolo area, in Barbaresco area, unluckily Barbera is spiantata. Barbera is substituted by Nebbiolo, unluckily. So exactly here in Barolo area, now Barbera d'Alba began to be rare, but is very well grown in all the area. And after that, there is all the Provincia di Asti with another kind of Barbera, but it's made the same cepage, the same vine. The wine is called the Barbera d'Asti. And after that, there is also other places like Alessandria. So it's a big extension, of course, much more quantity than quality sometimes, but Barbera is the most important wine in quantity for Piemonte. Here, this Barbera is a very rare because it is planted exactly in the center of Barolo area. And is planted in Bricoboschis. So Vigna Cuculo is our fourth historical vineyards in Bricoboschis. Together, Nebbiolo to Barolo, with Punta Marcello, San Giuseppe, and Colli d'Ovest, there was Cuculo.
So we
Cuculo
have
is Cuculo is the west side of the Bricoboschis. About in the same area, we grow a little bit also of Freisa. Yeah, and in Cuculo there is also a little bit of Grignolino, another far relative of Nebbiolo, and there is also a couple of little pieces of Nebbiolo too, much more Forlán de Nebbiolo than Barolo Bricoboschis.
But so you said your Barbera is special because it you know the vines are older and they come from Bricoboschis. But I mean, it's a superiore, so it spends some time in oak as well, correct?
Right. In the past, we didn't write on the label superiore. With the law of MGA, it's impossible to write Bricoboschis on Barbera label, and so we substitute Bricoboschis from Superiore because the graphic. So we didn't change the graphic of the label. It's important to know Superiore. I don't know if it's important or not. Barbera and every wine must be good, so it's much important than other adjective. Anyway, it means more than 1 year of age. And always we aged our Barbera from 20 to 24 months in the barrel. So for this reason, our Barbera is very rare because it's not so easy to find so classic Barbera, and is very, very traditional. In Barolo area, Barbera is important wine, differently than, for example, in Asti, because we produce also Dolcetto, that is our vino da tavola. It's a DOC, of course, but Dolcetto for us is like vino da tavola, is a wine for every day. Barbera is not like a Barolo, but much more than Dolcetto. So always Barbera is made in this area to be an important one. In Asti, they don't use Dolcetto. They don't grow Dolcetto normally, and so they use Barbera also to produce vini da tavola. And for this reason, in general, Barbera d'Alba, also in the 60s, in the 70s, the market of this kind of Barbera was very good and very interesting and very important.
But so we talked about your white wines and your Barbera, but the work in the vineyard. Do you work similarly with the Barbera as you do with Nebbiolo with regard to green harvest and all of these things?
It's a little bit different. The vine of Barbera is completely different than the vine of Nebbiolo. It's the same system to prune, is a guyot, but without a lot of, how you say, bunch, ice on the capofrutto of the main branch is not so long as Nebbiolo, because Barbera produce grapes right now from the first eye, and so this main branch can be just 30-40 centimeter. Nebbiolo require a different kind of potatura or prune, and it's necessary have about 70 centimeter or 80 centimeter of main branch. Another big difference is in green harvest. We can do a normal green harvest for Nebbiolo, but for Barbera is necessary have a green harvest much more intense. The production can be really too much. And another big problem growing Barbera is that the berries are very big, and for this reason it's necessary have a very late green harvest.
I didn't know this either. I'm learning so many things today. This is fantastic. But so we talked about your Barbera and Nebbiolo sort of together, but explain a little bit more about your Langhe Nebbiolo, because
yes,
and then we can move over to Barolo. But so I think it's a good path we are on. But so your Langhe Nebbiolo, tell us about it.
See, it's a strange production because it's not so constant. We can produce a lot of Langhe Nebbiolo in vintage not so good, and we can produce just a few or zero Nebbiolo produced in very, very good and important vintages. So the production go up and down. Also is a strange production because often the vintages not so important are better for Langhe Nebbiolo. Here, if the season is perfect for Nebbiolo, Nebbiolo is right now a very, very good Barolo. With a lot of structure, a lot of color, a lot of intensity, and unluckily also a lot of tannins. They don't permit us to age just 15-18 months the wine in botte, but they require a long age. In particular, if the vinification is very classic and traditional. So, for this reason, our Langhe Nebbiolo can change a lot in quantity. We try to maintain the high quality, And we can do that because the selection of the grape of Langhe Nebbiolo is very different than the selection of Barolo. For example, if the season is very warm and dry, often the best part for Barolo is the lower part of the hill. And so we can keep Langhe Nebbiolo in the highest part of the hill. Differently, if it rain a lot, the top of the hill is the best, and the lower part of the hill is too rich of water, and so that part is fantastic for Langhe Nebbiolo because Nebbiolo is fresher, is also lighter, and it's possible to age very well and very soon. The selection also is very different because we use young vines for Langhe Nebbiolo. So vines under 12, 15 years are used for Langhe Nebbiolo, even if they are in the best part of the Bricoboscis, even if these vines are planted in San Giuseppe.
But so those young vines, when they become older, will you then use them maybe for your Barolo?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. We are using actually 100% of Nebbiolo to Barolo in our Langhe Nebbiolo. We have not any vineyards outside Barolo area. We have some vineyards outside our crews, our crew Bricoboscis and Vignolo, but we don't produce any basic Barolo, putting together different vineyards around Bricoboscis and Vignolo to produce a regular and basic Barolo. We use these vineyards that could be also old with the old vines too. Fantastic, probably also for a great Barolo, but we prefer destinate all this kind of production for Langhe Nebbiolo.
So you mentioned the color of your Langhe Nebbiolo, and it has. You said it has a lot of color. And it seems darker than some other Langhe Nebbiolo. Why is your Langhe Nebbiolo so dark or so?
Oh, well, also there are some several things to say. Okay, the vintage in general became much more warm, and the maturation always is a really full maturation. So we have we are keeping a very ripe grapes. In the past, also my father, my uncle, my grandfather made just a few green harvests, really few, and the production was much more than now. In particular, a part of the vineyards of Barolo that they know because the weather was too rainy or too dry, they destinated right now the Langhe Nebbiolo, that vineyards in Langhe Nebbiolo, and they produce a little bit more. Now we prefer work as Barolo, as our best Barolo. All our territories is grown as Vigna San Giuseppe. Another reason to have a dark color is that Langhe Nebbiolo in particular is made by new vines. About 50% of new vines are new clones. New clones that is not our selection, our selezione massale, but we bought in the market. to Vivaisti, from some good Vivaisti. And there is a great selection of new clones, in particular a selection of the 90s, because in the 90s it was very, very important to produce for the market wines much more colored, much more red. And so many studies are very concentrated to produce a clones with much more color. So we, like everybody, have a lot of these new clones, much more red. The best things always is to have many, many, many different clones, and so we put together these so-colored clones. Sorry, so colored clones. Also, our selezione massale. There is also a little bit of rosé clones. There are many, many, many different clones. If you have just color, often you have a low intensity, low complex, low quantity in a complex bouquet. If you have a very light color, you have a fantastic nose, very rich in flowers, particularly in roses, but in the mouth is a little bit too light. So the best things is a mix of things. But in Langhe Nebbiolo, of course, much more new clones than old clones.
So we have, I think some of us have the 2018 here.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, your Langhe Nebbiolo is almost a Barolo. It has a lot of tannins. I think you can keep it for a very long time. But what do you think is the best moment to open and enjoy your Langhe Nebbiolo?
Yeah, Nebbiolo and Barbera. About after 3 years, they are after 3 years from the bottling. So I think that this wine in a couple of years will be very, very good, very complex with everything, with a full nose, with a lot of fruits, because the wine stays very, very young in 2-3 years. But there is much more complexity with flowers, spices. In 2018, probably is necessary wait a little bit to have licorice, to have tobacco, to have much more complex nose. But I think from 3 to 5 years is, in my opinion, the best moment. You can keep for many, many, many years. Depends. If you want more delicate wines without too much fruit, but with many, many sensation, you can drink this wine after 10, 12, 15. I think no more than 15. So it can be just a risk to keep too many years this kind of wines. Barbera also has a great evolution in the first 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. But after that, I think that is just a risk. You can be perfect after 20, but without something more than a wine drunk after 10 years. So.
But we need some wines to enjoy now while we wait for your Barolo, because your Barolo you can keep for many, many, many years as well.
Yes, but it's about the same things. We, in particular, our Reserva is aged 5 years in bottling, big cask. So we try, often we can't, but we try to have a very ready wines right now, good right now, without too much defect. So without too much tannins, and the tannins never must be green, never must be bitter, never must be too dry, but the quantity is an important quantity. So if you drink this wine with a great fat stack, is also perfect, a very young Barolo or Nebbiolo, or also Barbera. If you want to drink this wine with seafood, with a sashimi of tuna, maybe it's better wait 5-10 years.
But so another interesting thing about you and your family is you are quite concerned with the weather. So you have your own weather stations, isn't that correct?
Sorry.
You are very concerned with the weather, the climate.
Yes.
And so you have in
your...
your...
Sorry, yeah. Okay, yes, I now weather, okay.
Weather.
Yes, weather. Yes, it's important. It's important. We have the oldest dati meteo in the land. Older than us, there is the data center of meteo in Alba, with the Scuola Enologica di Alba. But Alba is a very different climate than here. It's completely different. Alba is very flat. Not so far because it's 10 minutes by car, but in a low position, in a Tanaro River position, and completely different kind of weather. So for vineyards in Barolo area, our data are much more
accurate.
important. Yes. From not so long time, but in the end of 60s, my uncle began to collect this kind of data.
But so how has the weather been for you the past 5 years? I mean, the temperatures are more extreme, and you have maybe some more storms. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think?
If we compare the climate from the 60s to the 90s, and from the 90s to now, we can see very well that the temperature, the maximum temperature doesn't change. So we have exactly the same summer and nothing changed. But the summer now is posticipata, is posted. So the summer continues in the fall. And we have very strange, we have always a fantastic September. In the past, from the second part of August began a little bit the autumn, with much more rains and the temperature collapse. Now not. Now to have the autumn, we must wait November. And often October, the first 2 weeks of October are really great. For this reason, the quality of Nebbiolo in particular, because Nebbiolo has a very late harvest, So the quality of Nebbiolo increased a lot in these last 20 years. Thanks to
the
this
longer
change.
summer.
Yes. Another particular thing is that the summer continue in the first part of fall, and now is very, very rare stop the harvest by the rains. Normally now we can start the rains when we want and finish the harvest when we want. In the past it wasn't so. In the past, I remember also when I began to work here a little bit with my father, we stopped the harvest 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times, because we start the harvest, after that we stop, after that we start again, after that we stop, and it was normal have 2, 3 rains during the harvest. Now it's very rare, and also for this reason the quality increased a lot. Of course, it's better to stop this changement right now, because now it's perfect. If it continue to change, we will have a lot of problems, probably.
Speaking of change, so you said you very early you took over the winery from your father and your uncle. Have you changed things, or do you continue in pretty much the same manner as your father and your uncle?
Yeah, so it's not so easy to change, because each changement is very complex in working in the vineyards and in the cellar. To see the results of a change is necessary wait minimum 1 year, but often 3 or 4 or 5 or more years. So isn't so easy. And is also very, very difficult to invent something new, because someone in the past already did that. And so often some of my colleagues often say, oh, I try to do that, I try to do everything. But if you check the story of an enological school, in some book you will find that in 1850 someone already experimented that. So it's not so so we continue working exactly in the same style. Something changed a little bit is the technology. So we can use much better the stainless steel, the check of temperature. We can modify the temperature to reproduce always every year the same condition, this perfect condition in the cellar. But after all, in the vineyards, we have the grapes, and we try to maintain the quality of the grapes in all the years of transformation, of vinification, and of aging, etc. The aging is the same, absolutely. Yeah, we have new technologies that help us to work better, in particular in vinification, but nothing to invent of particular. In the vineyard change a lot. In the vineyard, but also we don't invent nothing. We try to go back in the past. We try to work as wine grower worked before Peronospora and Oidio, before Downy Mildew and poultry mildew. This is very important, because unluckily in the 70s in particular, but also with the Camper around in Yeah, about in 1860, we began to use a lot of copper versus down medium. And after that, in the 60s, with a lot of chemical synthesis, of chemical product of synthesis, versus things that before we we didn't versus for example ragnetto rosso or versus tignola, tignoletta, versus some insect. Then in the past they weren't a problem. The problem began after to use chemical products. So to reinvent a new style in ecological style in the vineyards, we exactly reproduce what a wine grower did 150 years ago. So
because you are organic or ecological or sustainable.
Yeah, very, very, very organic. Is we are extremist in that, much more than biodynamical, because the biodynamical actually they are using a little bit too much copper. So the goal in the next future is use zero copper, of course, without chemical products.
Yeah.
But it's possible to use some very, very natural products, in particular oils, but not just oils, that have a great effect versus, in particular, down medium, that now is our most big problem.
Interesting. So your goal is to in the future use zero copper.
Yes. Yes. Now the sustainability is, I think, is about 99%. There is another problem that we must solve and we hope in the next future, is that to use this natural product is necessary use a particular machine, because the oil is not so easy matching with water, and so it's necessary to have a machine with a lot of power that mesh everything, and the machine must spray this solution of water and different kind of oils at high pressure on the leaves and all the green part of the plant. So it's necessary to use the tractors. Tractors are very small tractors with like a tank. They are very small but very heavy too, and so we compact a little bit of the soil. Respect chemical products is necessary have a double work, so double treatment, and it can be a problem. We hope to use drones in the next future.
I'm sorry, you are the first person in Lange with a Tesla. Now you're going to use drones in the vineyard. You're very innovative.
All is complicated, and we try in the next future. We try.
Wow, I'm so excited to see what you will do in the next years. But so it's already been 1 hour, and we are out of time. We are at the end. Grazie mille, Alfio.
Grazie a voi. Grazie mille.
Fantastic.
Grazie.
I hope to see you very soon in
Yeah, we hope. Now we are yellow. The color of Piemonte is yellow, so it's possible also eat something at the restaurant, but just at noon, not in the evening.
No.
And so no, we hope that also will be possible to travel in different countries, and yeah, but it's nice. We hope.
Me
We
too.
hope. We are here waiting. Something happens.
Me too. But say hello to Giuseppe and say hello to Monica also. And then
yeah, very gentle. Thank you.
I hope to see you very soon.
Yeah, me too.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye bye. Ciao, grazie.